Despite its cute and non-threatening appearance, Jirachi is one of the most hated Pokemon of all time, in competitive singles that is. And I would know, I'm one of the many haters. It's me. Jirachi is absolutely infamous for its ability Serene Grace, a dastardly ability, a villainous ability that grants a doubled chance for secondary effects to occur on moves. This means that a move like Body Slam, for example, which has a 30% paralysis chance, now has a 60% paralysis chance. Ice Punch, which normally only has a 10% chance to freeze, now has a 20% chance. It might not sound like much, but that is a significant increase. Jirachi debuted in Generation 3, where it is one of the best Pokemon in the metagame, and it is one of the most diverse Pokemon in the metagame. Jirachi has a Steel Psychic typing, which is very good, especially because at this stage in the series, Steel still resisted Dark and Ghost, meaning Dark and Ghost type attacks are only neutral against Jirachi. And this typing is quite complementary defensively, because fighting type attacks are also neutral against you. That's rare for a Steel type. Jirachi has 100 in all of its stats, meaning it is very customizable. You can run it as a pure defensive wall, or an offensive sweeper, or some sort of mixed threat as well, with physical attacking options like Dynamic Punch, which is humorously a move with 200% confused chance on Jirachi. That doesn't have any actual application, but it's true. The most popular Jirachi set would be its defensive set. Jirachi is often used as a special wall, as this type combo is neutral or resistant to most special attacks in the game, the exception being fire type attacks. But Jirachi with special defense investment and the moveset of Wish, Protect, Body Slam, and Fire Punch is an outstanding Pokemon. This is a rare special wall that is immune to Sandstorm damage in Gen 3, meaning it can freely chip heal. Because of its Steel typing, it also provides a bit of security against the common Aerodactyl in its Choice Band set that often locks into Rock Slide or Double Edge, which you will completely shut down. Jirachi is fantastic at spreading paralysis with Body Slam, as Body Slam has a high 60% chance to paralyze and it works against ground types. Fire Punch is not only a way to hit Skarmory, Forretress, and Celebi, it also spreads burn with a 20% chance, kind of like Scald in how it's used, because a lot of common fire resistances that want to come in, like Salamence, Tyranitar, Swampert, etc., will be devastated if that burn chance hits, and 20% is pretty high, to be honest, on a defensive Pokemon that can fish for that chance multiple times. Something that's kind of funny about Jirachi is that Jirachi is vulnerable to two trappers in the Gen 3 metagame, that being Magneton, who traps Steel types on the field, and Dugtrio, who traps all grounded Pokemon in the field and happens to threaten Jirachi with a super effective Earthquake. But the thing is that Jirachi is often good enough to take on these trappers and just beat them without a scratch. If Magneton comes in on a Jirachi and gets paralyzed from Body Slam, which happens all the time, you've got a super effective Fire Punch, you're chip healing in its face. The worst it could do is Thunder Wave you, which is bad, but you aren't going to get eliminated in this interaction. In fact, you might get out of there completely unscathed. Dugtrio also can't quite one-hit KO you with Earthquake, and after paralyzing them with Body Slam, you can very easily get a two-hit KO on them. Even these trappers that target Jirachi's typing can't quite nail it down and eliminate it. The disadvantage of Jirachi compared to other special walls in the tier like Blissey or Celebi is its vulnerability to status moves. Blissey and Celebi both have Natural Cure, which can heal status ailments on switch out. Jirachi doesn't, so if Jirachi gets Thunder Waved or burned, that is a lot more devastating than it is for Blissey or Celebi. But Jirachi certainly has a plethora of advantages to make up for that. Jirachi also isn't just a special wall. Jirachi can be many things, including a Calm Mind sweeper with full offensive investment. Jirachi's 100 base speed tier is quite good and it can reach up to 328 speed, and its offensive tools are pretty fantastic. It has Calm Mind as a straightforward boosting option. Thunderbolt, Ice Punch, and Fire Punch are all great coverage, as well as Psychic Stab, and Hidden Power can round you out too. Hidden Power Grass is a common choice. It is often difficult to figure out what coverage Jirachi is running, and depending on what coverage it's running, certain things can check it and certain things can't. For example, a set with Psychic Thunderbolt Ice Punch is dealt with by Swampert, but if they carry Hidden Power Grass, that's a different story. Jirachi can also run multiple different Calm Mind sets. There's a fully offensive one with just Calm Mind 3 attacks and full special attack and speed investment, but you can also run sub-Calm Mind Jirachi with Substitute and enough HP investment. Jirachi can substitute in the face of Blissey and survive a Seismic Toss. Using the free turn of substituting in the face of Blissey, Jirachi can 1v1 it. It's a rare special attacker that can beat Blissey. Another option on a Calm Mind set is Calm Mind and Wish, allowing Jirachi to kind of dip its toes in both roles, with Wish support allowing the team to heal up and operating as a Calm Mind sweeper that can also heal itself thanks to Wish. These are the main Jirachi sets, and you can mix and match options between them. For example, Toxic in place of Body Slam on the Wish Protect set is a popular choice that actually applies more pressure to Pokemon like Swampert and Tyranitar. And there are a bunch of fringe Jirachi sets like Choice Band Jirachi that prop up occasionally. Overall, in Gen 3, Jirachi is incredibly strong and often frustrating to deal with a high chance to freeze or burn or paralyze things on straightforward defensive switch-ins, which can add some variance to the team. But Jirachi isn't abusing the extent of its nonsense quite yet. This is a much more tame Jirachi compared to what would happen in the very next generation. In Generation 4, honestly, they made a huge mistake with this. They messed up. This was a blight on the Pokemon series, what they did here. What they did here was not okay, because they gave Jirachi a new move. The move Iron Head. This move right here changed everything. Iron Head is a Steel-type physical attack with a 30% chance to flinch, but of course, thanks to Serene Grace, it has a 60% chance to flinch. Now, flinch was already a controversial mechanic, even back in Gen 3 with Rock Slide flinch, robbing games it had no business robbing in many instances. It's a kind of a stupid mechanic, isn't it? 30% chance to just not get to make a move. Any mechanic in Pokemon that prevents the opponent from acting is often a little bit silly, like Confusion and Sleep and Freeze. There's often restrictions on these mechanics. But yes, Jirachi now has a stab move with a pretty high power that has a 60% chance to prevent the opponent from doing anything. Gen 4 also lacks a lot of good contact punishing effects, such as Rough Skin, Rocky Helmet, Iron Barbs, etc. All those effects that punish these spammable contact moves, similar to Iron Head. None of those really exist yet. Or if they do, they're on terrible Pokemon that aren't very common. This small moveset addition turned Jirachi from a fantastic Pokemon into the best Pokemon in the game. The rich really do get richer, it's true. Iron Head Jirachi has a stranglehold on the Gen 4 OU metagame. Teams need some sort of very sturdy steel resist or they will get eaten alive by this. And what's more is that Jirachi still has all that incredible set variety it had back in Gen 3. It can run Wish Protect, often those sets run Iron Head. You can run mixed Jirachi sets with your plethora of different special attacking and physical attacking options. Jirachi can be a Calm Mind sweeper. It can be a Choice Scarf Pokemon now. Guess what? Now it has Stealth Rock and U-Turn. The most powerful entry hazard in the game and the most crucial pivoting option in the game. You can also run all of the different type berries to survive a crucial hit from a ground type move or a fire type move using a Shuka or Oka berry. Jirachi's set variety improved and all of its sets got way better in Gen 4. So even if you have a team solid against this Iron Head Jirachi set, you're not too worried about this guy flinching you down because you have a sturdy resist to it. Well, first of all, in the process of going to your resist, they're probably going to spread paralysis or burn with Body Slam or Fire Punch or maybe Wish to a teammate, get some sort of progress anyway. So that often doesn't feel like enough, but even still, what if it's a different Jirachi that just destroys you because Jirachi can do anything at once? That's also a possibility. There's also no Dugtrio in Gen 4 like there is in Gen 3. Probably a good thing, as Dugtrio could enable some really broken strategies in Gen 4. But still, that does make it feel even harder to nail this Pokemon down and get rid of the thing. This is Jirachi at the peak of its power and the peak of general hatred towards it. What's funny is that even Gen 4's most avid supporters, a lot of them don't like Jirachi, the #1 Pokemon in the format. It's a very divisive Pokemon, even among this format's most die-hard defenders. And unfortunately, because of Smogon policy reasons, it's difficult to specifically complex ban Iron Head on Jirachi itself and get away with it, even though this is something the community thinks would be a good thing. Because if you ban Jirachi entirely, that throws the whole tier into disarray a little bit. Defensively, it's doing a lot of important things, but I don't think anyone really, some freaks like the Iron Head sets. Some absolute freaks. But many players, even active Gen 4 players, do not think Iron Head Jirachi should be in here. Oppenheimer really should have kept this one to himself. He made a big mistake, and the world will pay the price. The world is going to pay the price. And I'm sorry, but the only way I will ever play Gen 4 ever again is if this gets rubbed out, if we get rid of this. Maybe through underhanded means. I don't know, the Smogon lore says you can't do it for some reason, even though everyone wants it. So maybe we gotta take matters into our own hands. Where does Jirachi live? You know what I mean? Like, let's all take some action ourselves, why don't we? In the very next generation though, Generation 5, Jirachi is no longer public enemy number 1. That would now be Latios, but that's a different story. Now Jirachi has become significantly more manageable for many different reasons. First of all, spamming Iron Head is not the best anymore. Largely this is because of Ferrothorn. Ferrothorn exists, it has Iron Barbs. It is one of the most common Pokemon in the game, so there is a very clear way to punish this guy clicking Iron Head, and in fact, you're the one that's going to be slowly dying in that process. Yes, you can Fire Punch Ferrothorn, but often Rain is used alongside Ferrothorn, nerfing the damage, and you might burn it if you're lucky, but Fire Punch is making contact with Ferrothorn too, and you're going to slowly hurt yourself as you're fishing for burns in that way as well. While Ferrothorn is stacking hazards and removing your items and maybe paralyzing you or leech seeding you or something. Ferrothorn's outdoing you now. Ferrothorn's the new good bulky steel type. Jirachi's still OU ranked, it's still good in the format, but it's not the center of the entire universe dominating everything. Garchomp is also here, and Garchomp is faster than Jirachi with a higher base speed. It threatens Jirachi directly with Earthquake, and it has rough skin to also punish Iron Head spam. There's also sets like, Politoed, who often runs Refresh and resists Iron Head. So the Iron Head spam is feeling much worse here. And the power level is also increasing on everything else. So this 100 across the board Steel Psychic type is actually not taking hits as well as it was in Gen 4 from random big neutral damage. A lot of stuff has big Earthquakes. There's like Excadrill to worry about, and most physical attackers that carry Earthquake are just stronger now. Big water type damage from Specs Keldeo or something. Jirachi is being humbled a bit now. You do sometimes still see the Iron Head Body Slam set, but it's not what it once was, and in fact, it's not even the most common set on Jirachi anymore. That would be more of a Stealth Rock utility set. Jirachi is a pretty nice rock setter because it is sturdy against Latios and other dragon types, and also Alakazam and Reuniclus. You resist Dragon and Psychic, so you're solid against those. And you're neutral to Ghost, remember. So you're good against the common coverage those Psychic types run. That defensive profile and access to Stealth Rock and the pivoting of U-turn is a pretty nice combo, and Jirachi can find itself a solid place on teams for that reason. I believe Icy Wind is sometimes used in this interaction where Jirachi can trap an Excadrill. If you Icy Wind an incoming Excadrill, then go to Magnezone, who has a balloon, you can click Magnet Rise and you're now faster, and then you trap the Excadrill by Hidden Power firing it. Icy Wind also just has the useful combination of ice coverage plus lowering the enemy's speed, which has more applications than just that, but there is that cool Excadrill interaction that you can pull off. My favorite Jirachi set in Gen 5 is actually the good old-fashioned Sub-Calm Mind set. This made a bit of a resurgence. With a Sub-Calm Mind set, Jirachi is able to set up in the face of common Pokemon like Ferrothorn, the Psychics, Alakazam and Reuniclus, and it punishes Latios too as a solid switch into that. You don't want to get tricked and receive a Choice Scarf, but other than that, you're just sturdy against everything it can do. And Jirachi is also a really good rain abuser with access to Thunder, which has perfect accuracy in the rain and a 60% paralysis chance, very good. And I like to use Water Pulse. You can also go Hidden Power Ice, but Water Pulse has a 40% confusion chance on it while also being boosted by the rain. This is kind of dastardly, but you can 1v on Reuniclus very solidly with this, matching its Carmine boosts, paralyzing it and confusing it, and eventually breaking through like that. Funnily enough, this set can actually lose 1v1 to Reuniclus because of their Psyshock, which eventually starts dealing good damage when they're maxed out. But this set will pretty solidly beat it through Disruption. In Gen 6 OU, Jirachi clings onto OU status again, but it also feels a little bit worse. It's receiving a bit of comeuppance for its sins, you could say. Jirachi's Steel Psychic typing is no longer the elite typing it once was, as Steel is nerfed in Gen 6, losing its resistance to Dark and Ghost, leaving Jirachi wide open to super effective Ghost and Dark type attacks, which is terrible in a world where Knockoff was introduced in a newly buffed state and became one of the best new attacks in the game. So Jirachi on the defensive side is still feeling pretty unfortunate. But Jirachi got a little bit better on the offensive side. Iron Head became a good option again because Steel is now super effective against the all-new introduced Fairy type, and Jirachi can crucially apply some pretty nice pressure to the common Clefable and Mega Diancie, as well as the occasional Mega Gardevoir. Steel typing is a bit better offensively in this metagame. So Jirachi can still be used here for its vast move pool, the beautiful combination of Stealth Rock and U-Turn, which is just a lot of value, plus that Iron Head to pressure the fairies. And Healing Wish is a common choice too, a sacrificial move that fully heals an ally and cures all of its status ailments. Actually a very good momentum play, and a great thing to click when you're already very low health and want to just go out with that last little bit of value. But you can clearly see that Jirachi's power is dwindling. It is mostly used as a gap filler with its vast move pool and unique traits. It's no longer the center of the universe, and that was true back in Gen 5. Even though Iron Head is back in the forefront, it does feel way more manageable now. I must emphasize that because there are so many more ways to punish it, and the greedier ways of abusing it in Gen 4 are not as achievable here, as well as the defensive nerfs to Jirachi, leaving it vulnerable to many more things. So that's good, at least. Even though this can still be frustrating to fight. At least it's not as bad as it was. And you saw a bit of a resurgence of this kind of Scarf Jirachi in Generation 6 as well. Sort of a Gen 4 style set that often does want to spam Iron Head. This kind of set is a bit more effective at spamming Iron Head. And in Gen 7, Jirachi actually feels a little bit better because of the metagame surrounding it. Jirachi matches up quite well into the all-new Tapu Lele, who is one of the most prevalent offensive threats, mainly abusing its Psychic and Fairy stab for offense. Jirachi crucially resists both and much of its coverage, while also threatening it super effectively with Iron Head. This kind of Scarf Iron Head set does fit pretty well with the pace of Gen 7, as it not only checks various things defensively, it has the ability to threaten them, and with U-Turn to pivot out when needed, and Healing Wish to also keep up the pace. Jirachi actually feels pretty good at Gen 7 OU. Helps that you also match well into Mega Alakazam, who is often used alongside Tapu Lele. You're pretty solid into Megiana, another top threat. And this kind of Scarf set also generally provides speed control, pivoting, and that Iron Head cheese, which, even though there's more counterplay to it since Gen 4, can still do what it always did in some scenarios. Gen 8 is where Jirachi would fall down from the OU tier for the first time in its life, and it is ranked in UU. That's not to say it's bad in OU though, it is still very good against Tapu Lele, who is still a top threat. There are some metagame trends that are not kind to Jirachi, like the rise of defensive Pokemon, such as Slowbro, who really destroys this particular Scarf set with its resistance to Steel and Fire Punch. There's also Melmetal in the metagame now, who is very common and prevents Iron Head spam. You can Fire Punch burn that guy, but the Iron Head spam against all these bulky waters and Ferrothorn, who's still ever present, and Melmetal is a bit more difficult. But because Gen 8 is a bit of a slower paced metagame than Gen 7, this kind of specially defensive Wish Protect set is a little bit better. This set has its problems too though, as Pokemon such as Weavile are on the rise with their powerful knockoff stab. But depending on the team, this defensive Jirachi set with that Iron Head can still do stuff. But in the very next generation, Gen 9, the power level and offensive pace rose right back up with Terra and the Paradox Pokemon and powerful new threats like King Gambit, etc. So Jirachi feels like it has really been left behind, and it has fallen down to the RU tier in Gen 9. Pretty consistent Pokemon throughout the years, now relegated to a fairly low tier. Jirachi is feeling much like Henry Hill at the end of the film Goodfellas. You're a shell of your former self, and to be honest, you're lucky that they didn't put you away forever for what you did, and yet you still have it in you to complain about what you've been given. And I think that that's frankly despicable. I hope that in Gen 10 they finally put Jirachi out of its misery forever and delete it from the game. Or maybe it can be ranked in ZU, I guess. I'm not someone who forgets things easily though, and I would personally like Jirachi to be erased from the history books completely. But what do you think, folks? Do you like Jirachi? If so, what's wrong with you? Do you dislike Jirachi? Probably. Regardless, let me know down below in the comments. And thank you very much for watching.